If you're driven but overwhelmed, this video is for you. I've always been really driven, but that drive has sometimes come at a cost. The cost of feeling overwhelmed, pressure, like taking on maybe sometimes a little bit more than I can chew. But where some see this as a problem, I actually see this as a privilege because it means that I am taking on, and you perhaps are taking on, meaningful work in the world that others are not willing to touch. So if you want to turn your drive into your dreams, then keep watching this video. My name is Uriel Kim. I'm a New York Times bestselling author, CEO of Healthpreneur, and for the past 20 years, I've been building 7- and 8-figure businesses online, and I've been helping thousands of others do the same. So here are the 5 powerful shifts that help me turn my drive from chaotic into clear, focused, and purposeful action. I think you'll find them very useful as well. So number 1 is that less is more, and that there's a tremendous amount of power in focus. In business, focus creates fortunes. And I think there's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to focus and diversification, having multiple streams of income. When you look at the most successful business owners on the planet, they might, once they've amassed their fortunes, have multiple streams, but to build their fortune, they focused all their energy on one thing. Jeff Bezos, Amazon, Steve Jobs, Apple, Bill Gates, Microsoft. And you, whatever it is you're focused on, it needs to be singular in focus. Think of it like this. I have 4 kids, and there's only so much energy and attention I can give each one. There's only 24 hours in a day, and if I have so many hours with them, naturally, 1 or 2 of them might get a little bit more focus and attention than the others. It's very, very tricky to devote 100% attention in the same way to all of them. If I had 1 kid, all of my attention and focus would be on that 1 kid. Now, it doesn't mean that I love them differently. It's just in terms of my quantitative time, I just don't have the same amount of time to give to all 4 of them that I would if I had 1 kid. In much the same way in business, when I started back in 2005, I struggled for a long time because I took on too many things. I had eventually hundreds of offers, lots and lots of funnels, and a complicated business that I eventually wanted to get out of because it was a Medusa with way too many things going on. And we often say complexity fails, simplicity scales. And in that model, because it was so complex, it took me 7 years to hit my first $1 million in revenue. When I started Healthpreneur, by contrast, it was very singular in focus. We did one thing extremely well. We had one channel, one way of acquiring clients, and we went from 0 to $1 million in 7 weeks. So I'm not saying you're going to do that, but I'm saying there's power in focus, whatever that focus looks like for you. So I want you to ask yourself this reflection question. What's the one thing that if you put all of your energy on right now in this moment in time in your business would move the needle the most for revenue, for your business growth, for whatever goals that you want to go after? Now, once you've identified what that is, I want you to really simply take on a weekly basis, or at least as a starting point right now, is audit your week. Look at your calendar, look at your to-do list, look at the projects you have on your list, and kill 80% of it or all of it that's not related to the answer to that previous question. If it's not congruent with where you want to go, then don't do it. Many people struggle in business because the goals they set are not in alignment with the actions they're taking. So if you are looking at your daily actions and they're not in line with your goals, don't be surprised when you don't hit them. So when you look at your week, audit it. Look at the stuff that's on your calendar and ask yourself, is this in line with the goal that I've set? And the previous question was, if you had to focus all of your energy on one thing that would get you to that goal faster, what is that? And remember, that's going to change over time. But right now, what is that one thing? And do your very best to focus most of your energy on that right now. The second big idea here is that environment trumps willpower. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a naturally very disciplined person. I've had to create structures in my life that allow me to do what I have to do in spite of temptations. So as an example, I like donuts. And if I had donuts on the kitchen island or countertop on a daily basis, I would crush them, most likely, right? There's only so much willpower one person has before you give in to temptations. So the idea with the donuts is, how do we set up our environment to not be tempted by the donuts? It's very simple. You don't bring the donuts in the house, right? Really simple. If you want to eat healthier, remove the bad stuff out of the house. It's a good starting point. It's more work to go out of your way to find the temptations. And it's just like, well, what's the point? I'll just find some carrots in the fridge or whatever the replacement might be. So your environment is massively important. And especially throughout the day, as you start to get a little more tired and you're using a lot of your creative juices, we've known, there's a lot of research behind this that shows that throughout the day, your willpower battery goes down. Decision fatigue, you're making a lot of decisions, you're using your brain power. And by the end of the day, if we don't have the right environment set up to win, well, we're going to be getting into temptations that are not great for us. And I'm not just talking about health, but I'll give you an example. So recently I was reviewing a sales call of one of our clients, and they were helping, they help women lose weight. And we're reviewing this conversation. And this lady was talking about how she had tried a program online, which, about $100 online program type of thing. And it didn't work out for her. And she mentioned the fact that the thing that didn't work for her was when she was doing the workouts at home, her husband was sitting on the couch eating potato chips. Now, is that the program's fault or is that her environment's fault? Yeah, naturally, it's the environment, right? And your environment includes the people in that environment. So when I talk about environment, it's really important to consider the people and your surroundings. So naturally, really quickly, surround yourself with people who are already where you want to be. Let them inspire you, let them rub off on you, borrow their courage, borrow their beliefs, borrow their mindset, model what they do, and I promise you, you'll move a lot faster in their direction. But let's talk about your actual surroundings for a second. If you want to be more productive in your work and you want to take that drive and you want to kibosh the overwhelm, there's a few things in addition to the focus we just talked about. First, number one is understand that your phone is a massive distraction. I don't care if your business is largely built on social media. Understanding that your genius is in the creation of assets, not being logged on to Instagram or TikTok. So number one, I'd recommend, this is what I do at least, is I lock my phone away. I've never slept with my phone beside my bed as far as I can remember. That's just never even been an option for me. I don't bring my phone into my room, period. So at night, I turn it off. I tuck it into a drawer that's really inconvenient to get to. And then when I wake up in the morning, I'm not going to my phone first thing. Now, if that's not enough, there are actually things you can buy online, like lock boxes, where you can put your phone in, set a time, and it will not open until the time has expired. And if you want to be a lot more productive, my goodness, talk about getting rid of your phone for a moment, you'll be forced into the creative work that actually matters. The second thing that I've used that's been very helpful is using something, it's an app called Proof. I'm on a Mac. I'm sure they have a version of it for a PC if you're on a PC. But what's cool about the Proof app is that you can establish or determine which websites you don't want access to. So if you're distracted by Gmail or Instagram or ESPN or whatever it might be, you can have all those websites listed and that becomes your block list. Then you set a time for how long you want those sites to be unavailable to you for. And when you hit start, you can't undo that. Even if you took the computer in for servicing, that timer does not turn off. It's amazingly wicked at keeping you focused on what you're doing. So for me, I mostly focus my time inside Google Docs. That's where I'm getting stuff out of my head. I'm typing ideas. I'm writing things out. I don't need anything else. I really don't. There's a moment where I'm going to come up for air and share stuff with my team via the internet, but I don't need to be connected to all these other influences that are drowning me in an environment that's just distracting. So the Proof app, strongly recommend it. It's awesome. And you can set it for as long as you want. I think the maximum time frame is 24 hours. So typically what I do, end of the day, if I finish up at 4 o'clock, for instance, I'll set the Proof app for the next day for 18 hours. So I get up and it's already blocked my websites. I can't get in. I get into Google Docs, Google Sheets, and I'm off to the races. So reflection question for you is, what elements of your current environment are not supporting your bigger vision? And this could be people, this can be distractions, these can be inputs, right? Watching the news, listening to podcasts or watching shows that are very doom and gloom, that are not really uplifting. And I'm telling you, this is important stuff because if those are the inputs, your life is the output. And if you want better outcomes, you have to give yourself better inputs. So really do an audit of who are the people in my life, what are the surroundings that are not supporting me, make a list of all that stuff. And then really just sit back and ask yourself, is there an opportunity to maybe get rid of some of this? So once you have that list, just start knocking some stuff off if you can. I'm not saying get rid of your spouse if he or she's on the list, but there are things in your life that are not supporting your bigger dreams. And then you got to figure out what's more important, my dream or these unsupportive characters or environmental things things. Final thing I'll mention on this point is from a practical action standpoint, once you finish this video, I'd strongly recommend as a minimum starting point, just lock away your phone at night. Put your phone down, lock it away, and do your very best the next morning to just not even touch it. If you can just start with that habit alone, everything else will start to you'll find yourself more proactive. You're not going to be taking in other people's priorities and their news feeds and all this nonsense. You're not going to be looking at stuff that's going to distract you. You wake up in the morning, you are focused on what you got to do, and you get to it. So number 3 is we want to replace hustle with systems. So if you're going to work hard, you might as well work hard building assets and systems that are going to work for you. Because if you think of what a system is, it stands for saves you serious time, energy, and money, right? So right now, if you're working really hard, you don't have a lot of time, and you're not quite where you want to be, well, we have to look at what are the systems that could be lacking from your life or your business that are not allowing you to get where you want to go. And I'm talking about systems for everything. I'll give you an example. So when I travel, I have very specific specifications. I love traveling. I love planes. I'm a plane nerd. I can listen to an airplane in the sky and know exactly what airplane it is. Oh, that's a 787. That's an Airbus A330. If you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Don't worry. Like, that's how much of a nerd I am with this stuff. Now, here's the thing though, is that when I travel, I have very specific desires for the type of plane I want to be on, the type of seat I want to sit on or sit in based on the setup of the aircraft. And when I booked my flights, I would have a decision tree in my head that said, okay, if it's this plane, then this, or if I'm traveling from here to there, then I'd prefer to take this route. And so I'm sharing this with you because everything you do follows some type of decision tree. When this, then that. If this, then that. And so what we want to do is we want to think about how can we document all of that. So what I did for my travel was I documented everything. If I'm flying from Toronto, which is more or less where I live, to Los Angeles, all right, I want to be flying ideally Air Canada on a 787. I'm in business class. I'm not sitting front row or last row. I want to be somewhere in between on a window. And like these are all specifications that can be documented in a playbook for travel. So we have a Yuri travel playbook and my assistant Becca runs that whole process. So now I don't book any of my travel. Becca knows exactly how to book my travel. She knows my preferences, all this kind of stuff. We know when to use points, when not to use points, what the, if it's a ridiculous number of points for a certain leg, we're not going to do that. And all this stuff has been documented. Now, it sounds like a bit of work, right? But here's the thing is you do the work once or while you're booking your travel. I'm just using travel as an example. While you're booking your travel, you're like, okay, I'm going to book my stuff online. But at the same time, you're taking notes in a document to be like, okay, so I'm just going to see, okay, that decision, here's how I'm making this. Let me just jot this down. Because then you have this really awesome playbook in a Google Doc, for instance, that you can share eventually or right now with an assistant or someone else who can support you, and they can run the decision-making process for you. Because that's all this is. Everything we do is a series of decisions. If you want to get someone to buy your groceries, okay, cool. That sounds easy enough on the surface until someone delivers groceries to you and they're giving you cricket ball hard avocados or bananas that are green or overly ripe, or they buy the wrong type of cinnamon. Okay, cool. Well, all that is that's just a lack of system. It's a breakdown in communication. So let's say for buying groceries, which is a complete waste of time unless you love doing that, put together a list of specifications for the stuff you typically buy, right? Okay, if I'm going to get almond milk, I'm going to get almond breeze. Like this is roughly the price point. If it's 5 times the price, don't even bother. Or if it's an avocado, touch it. It should be soft-ish. However you are deciding to do these things on your own, write it down. And if you have someone buying groceries for you, whether it's a family member or someone outside the family that's helping you personally, give them the playbook. Like, cool. They go to the store, they look at it. They're like, yep, cool, awesome, good, good, good. And then they bring the food back to you and you're like, oh my God, it's like I went to this for myself. So all of this to say that if you can start to document things in your life that you're doing on a repeated basis, if you're doing something more than once, there's a process. The goal of this is to just extract the process so you're aware of it, put it in a doc, and then hand it off to someone else. Maybe you don't have someone else in your life right now, but eventually you will. because they can take on the lower level tasks that are taking up your time. So that allows you to delegate and elevate. You get to spend more of your time on the big needle movers for your business instead of wasting time with stuff that doesn't necessarily move the needle as much. So reflection question for you is, what's something right now when you think about your life that you do over and over and over again that could be documented and eventually, maybe not right now, but eventually hand it off to someone else? Got that? Great. So now your action is going to be to pick that one thing and document it. That's it. Hey, we'll get back to the video in just a moment, but if you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button below. It will help me sleep a lot better at night. But more importantly for you, it'll help you build your dream a lot faster. So go ahead, subscribe, and we'll get back to the show. So the fourth big idea here to help you turn that drive into purposeful action instead of overwhelm is to understand that you can have control or freedom for on opposite sides of the spectrum, but not both. So this actually follows from a little bit what we just talked about, which is the ability to relinquish control. And so one of the ways we can do this is by using a really simple 4 quadrant matrix called the Eisenhower Matrix. Okay, so I'll just really quickly draw this out for you. So we have urgent, not urgent. So I'm just drawing this out on the iPad for you. And then we have important and not important. Okay, so let's look at, why do we feel burnt out? Why do we feel overwhelmed? Why do we feel like there's just so much to do in so little time? Well, the reality is a lot of times we're doing things that are not urgent and not important, but we think they're important, right? So it's a matter of just kind of like stepping back for a second and saying to myself, like, is this really important? And is it really urgent? And if it's not urgent and not important, here's what we're going to do. We're going to delete that thing. So we're just not even going to work. Like, it's just going to be taken off the calendar, taken off the to-do list. We're just going to get rid of it. Okay. It's not even important for someone else to do. The second thing we want to look at is, okay, well, maybe it's urgent, but it's not important. Okay. So in this case, we want to delegate this. So in this, I'll give you an example. So something that might be urgent, but that's not important could be something like designing a graphic in Canva. Like, is it important? Not really. Is it urgent? You need it for a new community you're building on school, or a thumbnail on YouTube, or a graphic for a Facebook ad. Like, you need it quickly, but it's not a life-changing, majorly important thing. These are the types of things where you want to have the ability to delegate this to someone else if you have that person in your life. And if you don't, what you want to start thinking about is, how do I make a list of all these things that I don't really enjoy doing, that are not, they might be urgent, but they're not that important. Like, they're not, like, when you look at the grand scheme of things, they're $10 an hour tasks. Maybe it's admin stuff. Maybe it's stuff you're designing graphics in Canva that you as the founder or CEO should not be doing. You want to make a list of this stuff because this becomes someone's job description eventually. So that's the second possible quadrant there. The third possibility is something that is important, but it's not urgent. And this is, to be honest, where you want to spend a little bit more of your time. And I call this the design quadrants. This is where you're sitting back and you're designing your ideal future. This is actually when you start to lower stress dramatically, because you're not doing things that have to be done for tomorrow or this week, but they're done for the future. The longer the time frame in terms of the projects you're working on, the less stress and overwhelm you will feel, because you are working on things that are far into the future, which means the things that are in the immediate are all taken care of. And that allows you to sleep better at night. You're not putting out fires all the time. And if you want to reduce overwhelm and those, like, that sense of like the world's coming down on you, you got to figure out how to build the right infrastructure around you, systems, people, etc. But obviously you have to have a business that generates a lot of money to make that happen. You have to start thinking about, how do I, as the founder or CEO, spend more time designing the future I want, as opposed to the final box, which is do. So the final box is doing. Okay. So this, I'm going to give this a yellow, but it's kind of an orange. This is one of those quadrants where we start getting into like dangerous territory. Everything is urgent and everything is important. And we're just doing stuff all the time. We're go, go, go. You're in the weeds, in the trenches of your business, and it feels exhausting. It's just, there's so much to do. and there's never enough time. And everything seems like it's important. Everything's urgent. You're putting out fires left, right, and center, and it doesn't even feel like you can come up for air. So if this is the case, then we have to start looking at, okay, well, maybe it is you doing everything yourself. Maybe you're the only person in your business. In that case, you're doing all 4 of these quadrants. Welcome to the world of entrepreneurship. But one of the primary reasons for making a lot of money in business is that so you can buy back your freedom. You hire other people, you build infrastructure and systems around you so other people can do some of this stuff. Because I'll tell you this, the less you do in your business, the better off your business will be. It's when you as the founder or CEO spend most of your time in the weeds and trenches, you are doing the least valuable work for your business, to be honest. When we start a business, we are mostly visionaries. And we cast a vision, we design these ideas in our mind and we bring them to life. But when we start getting into the actual boots on the ground type of work, we start spending so much of our time in the doing stuff. Or we're in the delegating quadrant, but we have no one to delegate to, so we're doing everything ourselves. Over time, you want to start to be able to have people to support you so you can delegate stuff. And when you have those people around you, then it's really a matter of, am I willing to relinquish control because I've been doing this forever? Okay, if this person can do it 80% as good as me, that's fine. I never have to do it again. So in the world of like a coaching business, you might start off by doing all the sales calls, okay? And then eventually you can't take on all the sales calls anymore, or maybe you don't want to. You hire a sales rep, and right now you have all the calls, and then you're going to give those calls to a sales rep. Like you're relinquishing control for a tremendous amount of freedom. Now, you certainly have to coach and manage them and oversee them and so forth. But for every hour you invest with them, you buy back 10 plus for yourself. And so this is the nature of how we start to delegate and elevate over time. But I'll tell you why this is important, because people will treat you the way you train them to treat you. So one of my downfalls is that I'm a control freak. And I can do a lot of things in my business because I've done a lot of things in my business from ground zero. I know how to do everything from the ground up all the way to the high level stuff. And so for me to update a page with a new headline, I can get that done in 30 seconds. The problem is that the more I do that, the more I train my team to just expect me to do that. Whereas if I said, hey, this headline needs to be updated on this page, so-and-so, you do it, it might take 5 times as long because we're a remote company and sometimes there's delays and stuff as opposed to if we're in person. But that's the trade-off, is that I can do everything myself and I can control everything, but I will have no freedom. And so at some level, you have to start to look at, I have to be willing to give up some control to get my life back. My wife, as an example, both her and I parent our kids very differently. She does a lot of stuff for them. I do nothing for them. I mean, when I say that, I mean, I don't tie their shoes. I mean, I've taught them how to tie their shoes, but I don't tie their shoes. I don't help them get dressed. They know how to get dressed. I don't brush their teeth. They brush their teeth. Because my philosophy is if I keep doing the stuff for them, I will never empower them to do it themselves. And then I will always be the one who's doing the stuff, right? Daddy, can you do my shoes? Daddy, can you brush my teeth? No, I don't want to, because that's a time suck and it doesn't help you. So reflection question, where have you created dependency by being in control rather than relinquishing it? If we think about your business or your life, where have you created dependency? Because you need to be in control instead of letting it go. And to finish off this section, once you've identified that, I want you to choose one thing you're doing that you know can be delegated or deleted. And all I want you to do after this video, or you can let me know in the comments below what that is, just choose that one thing and delegate it or delete it. And the 5th big idea here to reduce overwhelm and take that drive and make it more purposeful and focused is to add constraints. So I believe constraints create limitation, and limitation leads to innovation. I'll give you an example of this. So before I had kids, I wasted so much time working. I had all the time in the world. So because I had no boundaries, I just kept working. But the problem is, if you know Parkinson's law, work expands to the time we've given to complete it. So if I have, let's say, 12 hours a day to do something or a series of things, I'll take 12 hours. But if I give myself 4, I'll get it done in 4. So the best constraint that I've ever known or experienced is having kids. So have some kids if you want to have some hard constraints in your life. So my kids, when they're in school, they're home by, let's say, 3:30. So my day is done. My day is done by 3:30. In the morning, they get ready. They're up around 8, and they're off to school before 9. So in that window of opportunity, I'm with them, getting their stuff ready, helping them with breakfast, just hanging out. But I like getting up in the morning. So if I get up at 5, I know from 5 till about 7:30 is like magic focus time. I'm going to go. I've got 2.5 hours, a hard constraint. Then they go to school, and then I got another 5 or whatever number of hours after that to get everything else done, including my workouts, going for a walk, whatever the stuff is that I want to do. And I'll tell you this, like, and you've probably experienced this in your life as well. When you have these boundaries, you find a way to get it done. And like, here's the thing is, so many people complain about not having enough time. It's not about that. They just don't have enough focus, right? Sometimes it's not that we're like doing more stuff. It's about taking stuff off our plate. That's a complete waste of time to begin with. So when we work with clients, like we're working with busy health experts who don't have all day to start spending all their time building their business because they're working with clients and patients. And we're like, dude, you're never not going to be busy. And that's never going to change unless you start doing things differently. Our goal here is not to give you more stuff. It's not to put more stuff on your plate. It's to look at your plate and remove the stuff that is a complete waste of time. And then with that said, okay, within those constraints of time, if you have 1 to 2 hours a day, what are the 1 or 2 absolute most important needle movers that you have to focus on if you want to create a bigger future? And that's what we do as coaches and advisors with our clients. It's like, you don't know how to get where you want to go. We've been there thousands of times. Replace this with this. We're not adding more time. We're saving you 25 to 30% more time on average by doing the right things, working within the constraints you already have. A way to think about this is actually a metaphor. If you think about water without boundaries as a flood, but when you have banks, it becomes a river and it has a current and it has purpose and flow. And so constraints are the banks that give water the force and the direction that it needs to get where it wants to go. Without that, it just becomes a shit show, the flood. I'll give you another example. So years ago, and even still to this day, I write down questions and in my journal as I'm thinking through stuff. And way back in the day, I used to ask a question, which was, instead of how do I make $1 million? Right? So that's a very open-ended question with zero constraints. I'll give you a better question that I would ask myself. And this would change, almost like a creativity exercise. How do I make $1 million working just 4 hours a day without spending a single dollar on ads? Now, I love advertising. I spend a lot of money on ads now, but it's just an example of a question you can ask, right? How do I make $1 million working just 4 hours a day or 4 hours a week without spending a dollar on ads? And you're going to sit there and you're going to think to yourself, I have no idea. And you're just going to write down a list of things. And those first couple things are going to be okay. And then you're going to think to yourself, I don't know what else. And then you just keep going down and scraping the bottom of the barrel, and you will come up with some really interesting ideas for you to test. And that's the power of constraints. And so there's another saying that says desperation leads to innovation. Sometimes being in a really tricky situation in your business, like not having a lot of money when you start, is amazing. If you got funded with $10 million out of the gates, I guarantee you would waste so much of it. You would spend too much on the wrong talent. You would probably waste money on ads that were not performing as well. But when you start with nothing other than like whatever you have in savings, maybe it's $1,000, maybe it's a credit card. That's how I started. You look at everything with a level of resourcefulness and efficiency. It's like you're like a freaking laser scientist. I'm like, no, dude, cost per lead's got to be this. If we're above this, it's getting cut off. And there's a tremendous amount of power in doing that, because success can create complacency. And that complacency then creates problems in the business. And then tough times occur, whether it's external or internal. And those tough times didn't create the problems. They simply reveal them. And those tough times become a beautiful reminder of like, thank you, universe, God, whatever, for reminding me that I've been wasting my time and focus on stuff that doesn't matter. And now I have to come back in and focus, and I have to create constraints, and I have to be efficient and resourceful to figure this out the right way so that as we scale, we're not wasteful. So I think that being in a situation where you give yourself really strong constraints, boundaries, is one of the best places in business to be. I like to think of it as living broke. Personally, I don't take out a lot of money from my company. I live broke, but I'm a decamillionaire. I take out what I need to survive in terms of mortgage and basic payments, but I don't need anything more than that. Now, although I could take out, I'm like, why would I want to? I'm not going to pay excess personal tax if I don't need to. And also by living based on what I need, I'm not going to start doing stupid things in excess. And so I think it's a really good lesson in efficiency, in being kind of living or kind of working within your means. And that's why I love constraints. So question for you to reflect on is, where are you working above and beyond your boundaries? Where are you saying, okay, I'll get this done after dinner tonight, right? And if that's the case, well, why couldn't you have gotten it done before dinner? So what's one area in your business or in your life where you're working above and beyond whatever boundaries you want to set? And then to finish this piece off, I want you to set a hard stop. Whatever time that is, I don't care if it's 3 p.m., 5 p.m., it doesn't matter to me, but set a hard stop every day, no matter what, that you say above this time, I'm finished. So it's like if you ever take a trip, you go on vacation, you typically get everything done before the vacation because you have to. And it's the same type of container constraint that we're creating here. It's like, if you know you have to be finished by 3 o'clock, you get it done by 3 o'clock. Do not allow yourself to go above and beyond that. And if you find that tough, create meetings or accountabilities to other people. So let's say you want to finish at 3 o'clock and you have a bunch of friends you want to get together with, or you're going to go for a run or a workout. Set the workout for 3:15. Set the engagement for 3:30. So you can't mess around. Like, you're 3 o'clock, I got to leave the house. Because a lot of times we'll do more for other people than we will for ourselves. If you want to get up early and you can't, get someone to come to your door in the morning and ring the bell. Like, I don't care. Figure out how you can create these boundaries and hold yourself accountable to someone else if you need to. That's why we hire coaches. That's why we hire mentors. I mean, listen, I've been in the health and fitness space for 25 years, and I still work with a trainer twice a week. I have a gym in my house. I work out all the time, but I work with a trainer twice a week because I'm going to do things with him that I'm not going to do on my own. I'm going to get a couple more reps in. I'm going to be pushed a little bit more because we're always going to do more for others when we have that accountability than we will on our own. So listen, if you found this video helpful, remember, first and foremost, to subscribe. And if you're a health expert and you are serious about getting more clients and growing your coaching business online, and you want to know more about how we help health practitioners, therapists, and coaches add $15,000 to $50,000 per year while working a little bit less, while working smarter, by building in systems into their business that can work for them, for you, then you'll want to check out the next video where I walk you through our $1 million health coaching roadmap. I'll show you exactly our business model, the whole operating system that we install into our clients' businesses to help them go from where they are to where they want to be a lot faster without the grind or the guesswork. Check that out next, and I'll see you there.